What are these rights, like restricted fundamental rights, as compared to normal citizen of our country, like the rights which are restricted for the soldiers in the army or air force or the navy for that matter, sir?
The restricted fundamental right within the organization, it is basically hukum se kaam karna hai, that is a separate issue.
So like you spoke about Agniveer, sir, I would like to know your views on Agnipath scheme or Agniveers for that matter, sir.
And there are a lot of disadvantages of this particular scheme, especially when a person is entering into the armed forces, taking an oath to do and die for the country. And if there is another sword hanging behind his back or his hands are tied, पता नहीं कि कल को मुझे आगे मौका मिलना है कि नहीं मिलना, आगे what will be my future. Major is 6 years of service, and a major, what we used to become in 13 years of service, that he was upgraded to lieutenant colonel, and lieutenant colonel upgraded to colonel.
Full colonel.
So the protocol and the rank structure itself had such a beating that in the system, in the environment of Fauji Hega, it is not the problem of the management of the armed forces. Here the problem is the policy makers, the government as such. They are not looking into the pride of a soldier, and that is where I think we are missing on very, very seriously.
Sir, do you think such incidents as of like Colonel Bhatt and the one which happened in Orissa around some time back, do you think these incidents also affect the morale of the soldiers? Like because their senior is being assaulted,
Yes.
an officer is being assaulted. Soldiers are a group of uniformed men used to rectify the mistakes made by their diplomats. But then at times it becomes painful to observe when the same diplomats don't pay much of the heed towards the policy that affects the veterans and the soldiers. Today I have with me Colonel Gur Prakash Singh Virk, who has been vocal about the grievances and problems of the serving and the veterans since last 27 years after his retirement. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, to start with, sir, when did you got commissioned in the army, sir?
I got commissioned in September 1977,
Right, sir.
and the unit of 3 Jackalai,
Right,
as
sir.
an infantry officer,
Right, sir.
and that too from Officers Training School, Madras.
At that time, it was what is now known as Officer Training Academy.
Same.
Right, sir. Sir, how many years have you served in the army, sir?
I served
Like-
for 21 years,
Right, sir.
and 21 years, I took a premature retirement in year 99.
Right, sir.
I was promoted as selection grade lieutenant colonel,
Right, sir.
and then thereafter, because of, in the armed forces there are limited vacancies, and because of limited vacancies, we realized that promotions are not too comfortable. So I took a premature retirement, and that's how I came out.
So basically, you got commissioned as a short service commission officer
Exactly.
in the army, sir.
Exactly.
Right, sir. So moving on further, sir, I would really be honored to know your views as you have served in the army as well, and you've been advocate to a lot of things, grievances of ex-servicemen and so on. Sir, I would like to know your views on the transition of a soldier from army life to the civil life. Because like as per the constitution, while serving in the army, as per the article 33 of our constitution, there are certain limited fundamental rights of our soldiers,
Correct.
right? And all of a sudden, after serving 20 years in the army, all of a sudden there's a transition. So what are your views on this, sir? Like what are the challenges like one soldier or an ex-serviceman faces coming into the new society and so on, sir?
This is a very interesting question, and I'm glad that you have asked this question. And to understand the problems what we all are facing, you have to understand the overall environment of the nation as such, especially the nation. You know that it is a democratic way of governing the government. democratic way of governing the nation. And we have a constitution. And in the constitution, the whole thing is that the armed forces are organized under Article 33 of the constitution, where the constitution itself provides that they can organize organizations under limited with limited restricted fundamental rights, and armed forces like Army, Navy, and Air Force all are under that constitution. And so also Army, Air Force, and Navy have their separate acts, and we can say they have a arrangement where now when you are asking me about the transition, I will say that it is the other way. A citizen, a fully grown up citizen, he tries to enter an organization which has got restricted fundamental rights, and after serving the nation, they again come back. And once they come back, they again get back to the society. And here I say, my experience feels that if all are citizens in the nation, us soldiers are a little privileged to have a double citizenship. Right. And I call it as a soldier citizen.
Right, sir.
So once he comes back, he is not only a citizen, a free citizen, he is also a soldier citizen. And why I call it soldier citizen? Because this is in his life, in his movement, he undergoes so much of training that he becomes such a disciplined person and a protector of the constitution, that in himself he starts feeling as if he is baptized for his own national aims and national goals. He is unlike a person who is like other citizens, normal citizens, because they haven't undergone that kind of a training. So keeping that in view, a soldier, when he comes out, he is something like very similar to like while he was soldiering, he was like a fixed wing aircraft person, flying very high and all under control. But once he comes out, when he sheds his uniform, one feels as if the wings are not there.
Wings are not there, sir.
Wings are not there. And to make it more little closer to what you want to understand, that what he feels is as if it's a freshwater fish in armed forces. And once he comes out, he has to now survive in ocean water. So when we look at these two aspects, the same soul, the same soldier, he has to survive in two kind of environments. It's very, very challenging, because most of the soldiers get confused. Anyone who has understood the soldierly life in a right perspective, they never see the same kind of environment outside, and they feel very lonely, they feel very uncomfortable, they do feel as if subjected to some kind of injustice over them, though they want to communicate, but with whom they can communicate? The system is very, very different when it comes to civil environment.
Sir, like speaking of the challenges of ex-servicemen, right? As you mentioned, like there are a lot of challenges which are faced after coming in the civil society. Sir, is there any policy or any sort of organization or whatsoever that helps the soldiers or ex-servicemen to deal with certain challenges? Because a retired soldier or a retired Fauji is not even much aware of how civil is not aware of civil norms as well, or the civil way of functioning.
See, as of now, there is only one system, that is whatever the policies which the Ministry of Defence under its schemes, they try to give the instructions to various governments, state, because we are a federal state. So every state has its own policies when it comes to welfare of soldiers and the ex-servicemen. But generally they are guided and directed by the defense ex-servicemen. They have a now wing, and they issue the instructions. But it's very, very difficult to see to it that those instructions are getting implemented and executed on ground. Why so? Because there's no law as such. they're just instructions. And in a country like ours, it's a huge country with a 140 crore of population
And counting.
and a huge population, and our strength is just about 27 lakhs, and that too spread all over the country. Now, keeping that in view, when we look at it, that it is very difficult to even monitor that what is actually happening with the soldiers, those who are spread all around. Rather, there is no one to even nobody's cross-checking also. Nobody's checking where these people have gone. And though British's time, they used to have district soldier sailors board, very effective boards, that they used to have a proper rules and regulations, that they were observing that their soldiers are taken care of when they go back to the civil society. But over a period, we have seen even the district soldier sailor boards, that continuity of that British regime is not actually working on ground. So I see a lot of weakness, except for pension, which is coming to in soldiers' hand through banks or now through Sparsh, and these some medical facilities which are being given through ECHS facilities and all. That's all which are appearing quite organized, but otherwise aspects like resettlements and how they are actually being engaged in the society, how they are settling with the society, those aspects are missing, and it's a minuscule strength. It's a super minority strength of this population, especially of ex-servicemen. And I have my doubts if the policies are really moving forward in a right manner. Why so? Because if the policies had been okay or the systems had been okay, we wouldn't have seen so much of, I will say, protests taking place at Jantar Mantar and various places. These protests are taking place. So many associations are building up. So many groups are building up. So when we see the whole strength as such, I feel that nothing much is taking place, and they do feel isolated in the society. They feel uncomfortable. They feel sometimes there's no one, koi mai baap nahi hai, nobody's looking after them. And when they go to civil administration, civil people for support and any kind of a system, they find it very difficult to manage their activities. Rather, they take these people, the civil administrations and all, I've seen generally they are, they feel little, they try to actually exploit them.
Right.
So they exploit them. So this is my way of looking at it. And there is a need to reform. Now, actually, we have reached a stage where armed forces do need a lot of reforms. But how to communicate, how to say, I'm thankful to you, at least you people are asking us and suggesting, maybe people will understand the way you people are communicating, the media is communicating, and we people are also now sharing with people. So we are quite hopeful.
Sir, like we spoke about the restricted fundamental rights of the soldiers, like while they serve. Could you shed some light, like what are these rights, like restricted fundamental rights as compared to the normal citizen of our country, like the rights which are restricted for the soldiers in the army or air force or the navy for that matter, sir?
See, so far once he comes out, see, the restricted fundamental right within the organization, it is basically hukum se kaam karna hai, that is a separate issue. Right. They have to move as per the orders of the superior. That's a separate aspect. What I want to really impress upon is that once they come out, they are free to have all the, I will say, they have all the rights what every citizen has. But how they communicate, now they use a new environment, that is their problem. They are not even trained to do all that. For example, for training into armed forces, for getting trained to become a soldier in the armed forces, we take about a year or 2 years to make him a soldier. But once he comes out, there is no procedure of detraining them to come to the citizenship. The normal citizens are there. So once there is no detraining, and neither he knows how to go about exercising his rights in the civil, so then what he needs is basically he has to be governed by some system. And where we are missing upon as of today, we do not have a buffer, I will say buffer act, you can call it, or a transitional act which is needed, so that the administration also is forced upon to do something which is, as per the rules and regulations, how they have to manage the ex-servicemen. So if as of today, in our democratic country, what we are missing, when I feel so, we are strongly missing that the transitional act, a buffer act, which is needed for ex-servicemen to be governed properly and to be managed properly in the civil society. Because majority of the time, then thereafter, after leaving armed forces, they have to live in the normal society.
Right, sir. So recently you filed a petition in Punjab and Haryana High Court regarding the ECHS, or as we call it, ex-servicemen contributory health scheme, keeping in mind short service commission officers. Sir, what is this petition, sir, and how do you find the policy as discriminatory in nature as compared to the permanent commission officers and the short service commission officers, sir?
See, to answer to this question, I will take you back.
Right.
That how the short service commission started.
Right.
Short service commission basically started once in 1962, when we were facing a lot of shortage of officers, and during this Indo-China aggression.
There was this force reduction policy which was also there before 62, I believe, sir.
No, that's what could be that reason, I do not know. But the fact is, there was an emergency of because of the shortage of officers, and then they came out with a scheme known as ECO scheme, Emergency Commissioned Officers Scheme, because we needed young officers to get into the armed forces. That emergency commissioned officers entry was started, and a lot of young leadership was taken over by these direct entry officers. And we were lucky and fortunate that time the youth really got into the system, and graduates, postgraduates, doctors, engineers, pilots, directly from the civil they came. That entry of that direct entry through IMA and DA was of course was going on, but simultaneously this ECO commission also started. In the ECO commission, the entry minimum qualification was intermediate, but suddenly they realized, when the response was so positive and so good for the system, they say instead of ECO, we'll start with the short service commission. Right. For 5 years of short service commission scheme, but the same rules and regulations will be applied. All rules and regulations will be applied as that of the regular officers.
Right.
Now, in that particular army instructions, once they issued army instruction of 11S of 64 for short service commission officers, in one of their paragraph they said pension under consideration orders will be issued separately.
Right, sir.
And other terms and conditions are same. That was para 18 of the army instruction 11S of 64.
Right.
Once they did that, that means it was expected that at some stage this pension under consideration orders will be issued separately, will be honored. But unfortunately, for the last 64 years, nobody bothered about this pending issue, which was to be given by the authorities.
Right.
Now, as a result, this particular aspect remained untouched. Right. By the administration. Now, because as the system moves, the reforms are taking place. In 2002, when plenty of these ex-servicemen were all increasing, the strength of ex-servicemen kept increasing. So in 2002, this scheme of ECHS came in, and this ECHS scheme came in for regulars also, basically for the armed forces ex-servicemen. Now, in that they totally missed the short service commission, because that was only for ex-servicemen, and till 2002 nobody was even categorizing the short service officers as an ex-servicemen. So neither this ex-servicemen, they were being utilized like a full strength. They were in operations of all the operations, the young officers. Statistics even go to an extent that the maximum martyr officers till 99 have this statistic, where maximum martyr officers are all short service officers.
Right, sir.
Young officers. But when it came to giving the facilities of one rank, one privilege, that was missing. So, to keeping that in view, till 2002, nobody bothered. But they were allowed to take medical facilities from the military hospitals because of their military ranks.
Right, sir.
being a captain, major, lieutenant, whatever rank they were. But suddenly these hospitals also stopped. Once the hospitals stopped, that's the time then one or two officers, they moved to the Armed Forces Tribunal and they seek that why this privilege is not being given. So then they were in the Supreme Court, they were somewhere. So 2019, then they filed in 2019 some kind of this scheme came in, and this scheme was so I will say so discriminatory, so with so much of inequality that it was not like 2000 scheme. They were taking the same money what the regulars are getting, 1,20,000. They were asked to be also pay 1,20,000. But when it came to service, they were only being given reimbursement of just about 50% of 50% for those who have served up to 10 years and 75% for those who have served for more than 10 years. More than 10 years. So this became little, I became little touchy about it, and did talk to, because after all, my own postmates. So one side, I am getting a full ECHS facility, and my own postmate who was with me, and we passed out together, he's not getting it. So we decided to move the writ, and we moved the writ in Punjab and Haryana High Court, and we had a nice young team of I will say advocates, Bisman Man and Vikram Man, young people, officers, and we moved on the first day itself. The honorable judge of the High Court, he says, okay, we'll move, and it has been admitted, and a notice has been issued to the opposite party to clarify why this discrimination. Let's see how the things move, and I'm sure we will this particular writ.
So basically, like the viewers who are not aware of this, I would like to tell the viewers that the regular officers are those officers who have served for 20 plus years, and they have this cashless facility of ECHS, and they are entitled to pensions as well. But whereas the short service commission officers whose service is less than 20 years, they are not even entitled to the pension, and they are not even entitled to the cashless health facilities provided by the government or the armed forces to the veterans or the ex-servicemen. As sir said, there's 50% reimbursement for soldiers or officers who has served below 10 years, sir?
Up to 10 years.
Up to 10 years, and 75% reimbursement for more than 10 years, sir. Sir, is there any other PIL or anything you have filed other than this for the yes, sir. Short service or soldiers or officers in general,
plenty
sir?
of things I keep doing. We have started moving these petitions in Armed Forces Tribunal as regard this pending point, which I told you about. This pension under consideration orders will be issued separately.
Right.
So we have moved the applications into this Armed Forces Tribunals, and about 10 original applications have been filed, or they're in the various points of various stages. Notices have been issued. And we are quite okay with that. Why? Because this particular justice has to be given. This discrimination of, I call it even to an extent that short service officers are getting exploited. Here you have to look into the one major aspect is that he joins armed forces with the aim of continuing in that particular profession. Well, there may be few who may be only interested to join for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But even if they join for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the system does not, the law does not debar them to get the pension, because the pension regulation always existed that anyone who has not served for standard years of service, that is 20 years of service, they can always be given a pro rata pension of that scale. Now, somehow there is a discrimination in this case, and this particular whole short service lot, including women short service commission officers, because that's the biggest problem what we are facing today, that the entry system is there of short service, but when it comes to giving them the equality and the welfare and I will say the the post-retirement, post-release benefits, nobody is giving them. The nation is not looking into it. So this is where a big reform is needed. Huge reforms are needed, and the governance of these military officers, as well as now soldiers, even Agniveers. Now Agniveers are also coming through like that. The same problem this lot is going to face. So we need to have, I see that a lot of reforms are needed. And if we will not look into now this problem now, in future we'll face much more difficult situation to manage this whole institution as a whole. No doubt the future wars can be too technical or anything, but on ground soldiers are must and are needed. Even today's also Iran war, you see the war between US, Israel. There can be plenty of missiles being fired from each other, but final winning will be taking place by the soldier on ground. And so for soldier on ground, we need to have a dedicated force. We need to have dedicated soldiers, and we cannot make the soldiers feel so uncomfortable, especially like short service commission officers, those who are not getting any benefit. So we have started moving the OA applications. Now they are feeling, the system, the Armed Forces Tribunal as well as authorities are feeling that there is a demand which is rising, and to an extent we are now listening to the remarks like this will that this will open a Pandora box. So what? It is not a Pandora box. If some injustice if the justice has not been given in the past for the last 64 years, somebody has to stand up. Somebody has to rise and raise this question: why injustice? Why exploitation? Why this particular? Why no equality with these officers? After all, it's a President Commission rank under Article 18 of the Constitution. You are honoring this article, this particular rank. But you cannot. These officers, they have nothing in their hand to show to the public that they are officers. So I take these these released short service commission officers as the true ambassadors of our Indian Armed Forces, the true traditions, true solidarity, and the strength of the officers. So they must be given the equal rights. Well, it can be scaled down. That's okay.
So, like you spoke about Agniveer, sir, I would like to know your views on Agnipath scheme or Agniveers for that matter, sir. Like, do you think that has it affected our armed forces or nation as whole in a positive way or a negative way for that matter, as far as the armed forces are concerned?
See, I do not know how the management of these Agniveers will definitely be affecting them, because I am out from the system now. I'm retired since '99. But certainly, one thing is very sure, that I have seen the response of people joining this particular scheme. It has reduced, and considerably reduced. The motivation, what we people used to, the soldier, the people, those who used to have a lot of motivation, they are not now entering into Agniveer scheme. And there are a lot of disadvantages of this particular scheme, especially when a person is entering into the armed forces, taking an oath to do and die for the country, and if there is another sword hanging behind his back or his hands are tied, पता नहीं कि कल को मुझे आगे मौका मिलना है कि नहीं मिलना, आगे what will be my future? I think we are going to get into a difficult moment. And why should we increase difficulty for a soldier who has opted himself to, who has volunteered himself to serve the nation? So here we are actually, one side we are expecting him to be a great soldier, the other side the scheme as such is actually, not letting him to come out with his full potential to fight out or to stand for the nation the way I think what soldiering we have learned. We feel that soldiering itself is a dharma for us. We are baptized in a way that we say nothing else is required in this one life but to continue to stand as a soldier. But here, Agniveer, I have my doubts. I had been a trainer in the recruiting centers. I had been a OC training Ladakh Scouts. Everybody feels uncomfortable about it. And The government has to look into it. This is not the way. You have something, you have a short service, but give him full, I will say, status of a sepoy. You don't want to keep him for 17 years, 15 years, 17 years, 20 years. One can always manage that officer, there's a soldier for 5 years, 7 years, and let him be out. But the status must be given of equality, and a rank must be given. Now, I saw somehow, because I'm from Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry, and I see that even this terminology Agniveer has not been properly understood. It has not been accepted. It has got somewhere a religious, if not religious, it's got some class. It differentiates class differently. So I somehow feel that we need to revert this word also, even Agniveer. It's better it would be SSS, short service soldiers, not direct, simple, straight. But Agniveer somehow or the other is not fitting in vocabulary also. Neither it is a rank in any case. And in any case, they are not sepoys. And there will be a break in service. There will be no provident fund. There will be no ESI for this insurance for these people. There will be no pensions for these people. So if one is serving for 4 years, 5 years, let us say 4 years, including the training part, as per the head count, they may be filling in the vacancies. But when it comes to their welfare and their future and their social security, you are missing everything on that. And I see it as a violation. It's a human right violation also. Because you are making a person to do and die for the country. But when it comes to giving him the due respect and regard once he leaves, I think that's where the government has to look into it, and it should not see soldiering as so simple. Rather, I see the private security company, like the private security person, he's getting all the benefits. So if he continuously serve for 10 years, he's getting his pension, he's getting his security. So what the Agniveer for 4 years will get?
So do you think the recommendations recently that has been provided by the army or the higher hierarchy to retain the Agniveers, like initially it was 25%, right? And now the recommendation is 75%. And then the serving tenure should be increased from 5 to 7 years. Sir, do you think this recommendation will be implemented? And if it's implemented, will it be rather beneficial for the soldiers? Sir?
I think there is need to give a rethought to the whole system and scheme as such.
As a policy?
No, even for officers. Instead of, making them feel uncertain from the day one, it's better to make them certain. You can give them an option of, okay, go for a certain way of doing it. Like, for example, they can go for a short service for everybody. It can be 10 years, it can be 5 years, it can be 10 years. Continuing for another span of 5 to 10 years, and I've written in one of the articles that you can have a three layer of armed forces. You have 10 years, you have 20 years, you have 30 years. So, but give OROP to all. Well, you cannot give from, you may not be able to give the pension from day one, but as a soldier, if I retire after 5 years or 10 years or released, I am not expecting the pension from the day one itself. Whenever the pensionable age comes, that time for the period I have served in the armed forces, that time that particular thing can be added on. You see the disadvantage. Let us see in short service commission officers. Equivalent, you can say soldiers also. If he serves for 10 years in armed forces, now he leaves the armed forces and he goes to police. Let us say he goes to IAS, like he may even go to PCS, he may go to banking service. Those services will not come. They may be given the antedate seniority. They may be given some kind of the promotion at the first stage. But when it comes to pensionable stage, they will be given only for the period they have served. So the period what they have served in the armed forces, it has gone all waste. So that means as if the period what you serve as a soldier, it is as if कोई ग्रहण लगा हुआ है, we are eclipsed with the negativity. So who will volunteer for armed forces? We need the best of the people. And here when we are not going to be cared for after we coming out from the armed forces, definitely there will be a big, I will say, demotivation for those who are serving, for those who are actually feeling little, I will say, within the armed forces there will be a discrimination, uncertainties, and definitely exploitation is going on. There's no doubt about it. People are not speaking it out, but there's a huge exploitation. So instead of making different vertical entries, it is better to the whole armed forces should be reformed in a way that we have 5 years, 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, 30 years of service period. But definitely the one rank, one privilege must be given.
Be there.
I, as an, let us say, short service officer, he cannot be higher than, let us say, captain, major, or maybe lieutenant colonel today.
Right.
But rank will be there. But without any privileges, I think it's a terrible, it's a huge injustice which is being done. And it is it is not the problem of the management of the armed forces. Here the problem is the policy makers, the government as such. They are not looking into the pride of a soldier. And that is where I think we are missing upon very, very seriously.
Sir, I would also like to touch upon recently, sir, there was this taxation on disability pension, and disability generally happens in the line of duty itself, because फौजी को तो हुक्म मिला, उसकी अगर आंख में स्प्लिंटर लग गया या उसके कोई कुछ भी हो गया, अब उस पे भी सर टैक्स लग गया. Like what are your views on this, sir?
So far disability is concerned, yes, you are right. Disability to a soldier is much more than other services. Touchwood, I came out with 21 years of service with Shape 1 category. And definitely the people, those who are disabled, with disability, they cannot do the second career. They cannot, it will be difficult for them to pick up a second career. And so far soldiers are concerned, second career is a must. And if you are not there getting second career, with pensions, it is very difficult to survive. And you all are retiring young. I retired at the age of 41. Now, if I have to serve, I have to take on other work also. Now, disability, that means he is actually not able to take on the second career. Now, how do you compensate? You have to compensate with additional pension. So,
that is also being taxed.
Yes, that is, one is the service component and the second is the disability component. So, service component plus disability component, you add together, it gives you an added advantage, or you are given a pension. But it's very, very interesting to see, for so many years we have also seen that people are only being given disability pension and not the service basic pension. There are large number of short service commissioned officers, those who have got the disability because of serving in the armed forces, they are just getting petty 12,000 rupees disability. Arey bhai, use your common sense. How can a person get a disability pension when you don't have the standard service component? Right. Huge number of cases going on. So imagine 12,000 rupees a short service officer is getting. Now the question is of taxation. Now there are two talks of, I think, I don't know who has given a thought to this particular thing, that taxing the disability pension.
Because the
one side you are giving him additional pension because he is disabled. He is not able to take on the responsibility for us or take on the job for a second career, and you are giving additional fund. And why is being given that? Because of attributable to the military service. Now somebody putting a tax on that, I think there's something missing something is missing in the policy makers, and that's why I say the soldiering within the country is becoming a laughing stock. People are finding it funny. People are not volunteering. Why they are not volunteering? Because if this is the respect and the regard and the honor you are giving to a soldier who has fought, who has become disabled, and you are giving a disability pension, and you are putting a tax on it. There was a time in 1911 के अंदर उन्होंने Britishers ने even toll tax was never given. Here, every time, even if you show your I card, every police chap, every CRPF person, every government person is passing through the tolls, but a soldier has to pass through with the toll. And whereas there is an act in 1911 that toll nahi dena hai. This was the respect and honor which was being given to soldiers. And today you are not giving. That shows your mindset. This shows your psyche. This shows that you don't understand what soldierly dharma is. I think our democracy has really failed us when it comes to soldiering. I am very clear in my mind. The democracy was not expected to treat the soldiers like this. The country has to understand, अगर राम को भी आप देखोगे तो उसके भी एक शोल्डर के ऊपर धनुष बाण है. दी मेजॉरिटी, इवन रामराज के टाइम पे भी क्षत्रिय की एक ताकत थी. जी सर. Where is that image gone? It is not only for just to pray or worship. Ram is not for that. Ram was actually a person who is seen as a soldier first. Our complete epics, whether it is Mahabharata, whether it is Gita, Mahabharata देख लीजिए, अपना रामायण देख लीजिए, it is only based on soldiers. But here, as of now, the democratic system and the political system of our country has just forgotten what is soldier. And the strength of a soldier is seen even on just a petty कुछ वोट दे देंगे, क्या दे देंगे, कुछ भी नहीं दे पाएंगे. Our voting power is also nothing to tell these people. I even to an extent of saying that if you people cannot talk in the parliament for the soldier, at least give us some seats in various legislative assemblies and the parliament for these soldiers to stand up a reservation, so that we can at least communicate. We can tell which are the places where soldier can communicate, or people can communicate, or representatives can communicate. You take the statistics, you take a state like Punjab.
Right, sir.
114 seats are there in the legislation. So far Punjab is concerned, not even one soldier.
Right.
And we have the maximum strength coming and trying to become soldiers. And the Punjab is what? It is a shield of the nation, the western front of the this thing. And if a class and a area of Punjab is also being diluted or degraded, so causing degradation to the soldiers, you can well imagine what about the rest of the nation. So we are somewhere we are in a difficult situation. We are not, our democratic system is not understanding and giving the full strength to the officer, to the soldiers as such. So I think talking of disability pension is too small a topic, but then it shows I personally feel it's an insult to soldiering. And they do not want to give it. They want to tax the disability. It's okay. Tax how many? What percentage it will be? How many percentage has a disability? It will be 10% of the total strength of the ex-servicemen. But it shows a very, very negative thinking about our policymakers. I am sorry to say so, but I believe that our policymakers are absolutely now left with no courage and convictions what soldiering is all about.
Right. So one last question, sir. Sir, recently it has been observed in our country that serving soldiers and officers while being on duty are being assaulted. This didn't happen before. Like there was an instance in Uttar Pradesh where a serving soldier in uniform went to a toll.
You're talking about Colonel Bhatt.
Colonel Bhatt case happened in Punjab, sir.
Yes.
I was coming to that also. There was this one instance in UP as well. Recently, a soldier belonging to the Rajput regiment, he was on a toll and he showed his I card, and there was this verbal argument or a verbal conversation that happened, and the toll staff got together and assaulted him. And on the other hand, and it's not even an year old thing, sir. It's hardly 4, 5, 6 months old. And on the other hand, as you mentioned about Colonel Bhatt's case, a serving officer in a very sensitive designation comes to Patiala and is assaulted by the police itself, even after he shows his I-card that I'm a serving officer. How do you see such things that have been happening? And there was this
In
incident
Odisha also.
Odisha also,
Yes.
where the fiance of an army officer was taken to a police station. And sir, like although like they have got this helpline numbers in the army, like one can call and so on, but how do you see such things? Are these helpline numbers enough? Because at the end, if soldier is not being honored or respected by men in other uniforms or the civil society, I think it is very disgraceful for the country or citizens or the civil society. What would you like to say on this, sir?
See, it's over a period. We have degraded the armed forces. I will start talking from 1970. I will say 1971. After 1971, we had actually won the Bangladesh.
Within 13 days.
Yeah, we that battle, that whole thing, the whole armed forces, they took up and they won that 1971 war. But what we got in return in 1973, the pensions of these soldiers were reduced from 70% to 50%. That was the first state when we started feeling that there is something wrong. Yes, I agree that every nation, when it comes to soldiers or to spending money on armed forces, it is the prerogative of the government, no doubt about it. But we also look at it that we are not as soldiers. We never look at we do not have an employee relationship with the government. We feel that we are part of the Constitution. We are the saviors of the Constitution. This is the ultimate, the organization which is taking care of the Constitution as a whole. And so also when it comes to Constitution, that means external and internal both. So any security threats may be external or internal. We are taking it on. So in 1973, our pensions were reduced. Slowly and steadily, we will realize that even a lot of, I'll say, in various pay commissions, starting from 4th, 5th, 6th pay commission, the basics also got reduced. Comparatively, the civil systems, that is the civil organizations, they were getting more and more, I will say in protocol, they were rising in grades and their pay. Once they were rising in their pay and grades, automatically the protocol, what we used to have earlier, like a major was equivalent to a SP of a superintendent police. Like in protocol, they used to say major means equivalent to superintendent police. But because of grades were getting reduced, and in that pay system, everything was getting reduced. So slowly and steadily, they started realizing that the military ranks, whether he's a sepoy, whether he's a havaldar, whether he's a subedar, whether he's a captain, major, colonel, brigadier, generals even, their protocols started getting reduced. Right. So as a result, in the protocol, see, protocol when you say in the public, of the uniformed people, I'm talking of the uniformed people. So once they started getting reduced, to an extent that you have seen the degradation took place of our military rank, to an extent that we were in Jantar Mantar protest in 2014. And before that, they also degraded. One side they say upgraded the ranks by AVS committee. Like they say want to keep the army young. Actually, they did not make the army young. What they did, they actually degraded the ranks. A work which was to be done by a captain, earlier what we used to do as a lieutenant, he was made captain. A captain with 3 years of service was made as a major, and as a major is with 6 years of service. And a major, what we used to become in 13 years of service, that he was upgraded to lieutenant colonel. And lieutenant colonel upgraded to colonel. So the protocol and the rank structure itself had such a beating that in the system, in the environment of Fauji Hega, they started degrading this military rank. The system, this is where this is a failure of the democratic system of our government, the bureaucracy of this particular system. So everywhere in an environment, in the environment, armed forces rank structure totally got degraded. Neither they could ever feel the satisfaction of being getting a good satisfaction of being a good soldier, the fighting it out. So one side we are trained to fight the soldier, the enemy. The other side we are seeing an enemy within. That they started degrading us. They didn't never consider the importance of our training, the discipline, and the manner in which we are able to look into the, we are able to, how we have to be taken care of within the society. Now this is where, over a period, when the degradation started, the injustice was being felt. Today you see, because of those Jantar Mantar protests, we had protests at this place, even Punjab, you must have noticed this, Shambhu border.
Shambhu border, sir.
The trains were stopped for the whole day, for the whole one day or 2 days, and they say we'll have discussion, or we'll have some kind of a debate with these authorities. Nothing happened. Similarly, in OROP 1, they started feeling how much time it took to get the OROP. The OROP 2 became another, I will say, another obstacle for everyone. So many JCOs and ORs started feeling little difficult. They started feeling indifferent to our way of looking at the regimentation as a whole. They started saying officers, no officers are required now to protest for us, because they felt a little insulted. They felt that in OROP 2 they have been looked down upon. Similarly, OROP 3, now you see the lieutenant colonels, the selection grade lieutenant colonels, those retired before 2004, 16 December 2004, they have been degraded along with the time scale lieutenant colonels with the 13 years of service. A commanding officer rank, which all this time we used to command the units and look after the people.
The
strength of the whole, the tigers we used to call lieutenant colonels. Today also in Pakistan, the Pakistan army, you see the command is of the lieutenant colonels.
Yes, sir.
You see Bangladesh army, this is the command is the lieutenant colonel rank only.
Yes, sir.
And we also commanded, the all lieutenant colonel rank was a meritorious rank. But they degraded in OROP tables, and they merged the problem which came in. They merged the rank, and slowly and steadily, when we look at OROP 1, OROP 2, OROP 3, so you feel your own pay structure and the grade system has been degraded. So we ourselves are responsible, our government is responsible of degrading this military rank, and as a result, there is a demotivation to very many people. And as a result, when you feel that you are degraded, the other side, the civilian and the other people, they feel they could do anything with our Faujis. And that's what happened in Odisha, that's what happened with Patiala, that's what happened in this thing. There's no law, there's no regulation.
Sorry to cut you short, sir. Sir, do you think such incidents as of like Colonel Bhatt and the one which happened in Odisha around some time back, do you think these incidents also affect the morale of the soldiers as a whole, sir? Like, because their senior is being assaulted,
yes,
an officer is being assaulted.
Why not? This is very simple. Here, so far Patiala incident is concerned, I think somewhere we are going wrong in understanding that even the CO also had the power to carry out the inquiry. Now, why the commanding officers have not gone into details of this particular inquiry? Why are we shedding away? We are allowing the people to remain the case with the civilians. I think there is a requirement now for armed forces commanding officers, because the whole armed forces military structure is based on commanding officers' authority. At every level, there is a commanding officer. So if the serving officer has been hit or has been troubled, I think commanding officers also must have the right. But what they have done over a period, now instead of commanding officers having such kind of authority, they are earlier, that commanding officer used to be a very responsible person. But nowadays, their authority has also been reduced to an extent that now these armed forces tribunals have come. Though they might be showing to the system that they are big, this justice will be given to soldiers, but in fact, what has happened that people are now passing the buck to the other systems. Carry on. We let the time. Everybody is trying to pass time, and everybody just seeing to it that we do our work and we just have a no problem at our level. And if there are problems, let the problems be solved by somebody else, and that somebody else is not seen. Now, as of today, the somebody else is not there to look into the basic problems of soldiers, honors, pensions, welfare, medical system, dependents. This is where I am of the opinion that we must have the country must pass a Armed Forces Resettlement and Welfare Act, and I have suggested in one of the articles also that now there's a dire necessity of introducing a bill and introducing an act by which there is this period, the question what you started the first, the transition period, that can only be possible if there's a law to be used, and we have a law for these civilians also to understand us. So also soldiers, when we enter the particular system outside, we have a law, and somebody should be made accountable. And if nobody is managing us well, then at least we can use the law and we can use the court. That's all I can.
Right, sir. It was an honor having you on the show, sir.
Thank you. And thank you very much, and we'll continue little with more discussions. Thank you very much.
Right, sir. It was an honor, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.